Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 8 Japanese premium tank destroyer, the Type 5 Kari. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Kari, what's it like? Well, it's been a lot of fun. I have thoroughly enjoyed this tank. The armour on it is workable. It's not fantastic, but it's workable. The gun on it is fantastic. You've got nice alpha, nice DPM, very good penetration. Your mobility is fairly mediocre, but it gets you to where you need to be. And you've got fantastic camo to boot. And you will get this at level 100 in the current Tigers Season Pass if you buy the Season Pass, which is, again, very glorious. This tank destroyer is a lot of fun. And this is going to precede the Japanese tank destroyer line that will be coming out. And if the Japanese tank destroyer line is anything like this tank, it's going to be a lot of fun to play, because it truly has been an enjoyable experience. And you're going to see the enjoyable experience in the last game particularly. Wow, is what I'm going to say to that. Spoilers! So yeah, the Type 5 Kari, it is a lot of fun. It's got a lot of good stuff going for it. And you can get this skin for the Kari in the Season Pass as well, which you can see here. And you'll get this at level 40 something, I think it was, 45. I can't remember what it was in the Season Pass, but you'll get it in the Season Pass anyway. And you'll be able to kit out your Kari to look pretty damn cool. So let's look at the statistics of the Kari. And that is that you have a 750 horsepower engine with a 40 km/h top speed and an 18 km/h reverse speed with 16.66 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit this 40 km/h top speed fairly easily. And you don't really have any problems getting up to it, but like I say, it is a little bit slow. It's a little bit mediocre. I wouldn't say it's slow. It's mediocre, right? That kind of mobility, but it does get this tank to where it needs to be. And you've got an 18 km/h reverse speed, which is fantastic for this kind of tank destroyer. That means you can back out of dodge really quickly if you really need to, and that is definitely a very nice thing for the Kari. You've got a 20% internal fire chance, which is on the high end of the fire chances, so be very careful of it. This thing could get set on fire quite a lot, although I've not really experienced that in my 15-20 games I've played in it. You've got 1,250 hit points, which is a decent slab of hit points to use for this tank. It's pretty typical of a lot of the Tier 8 tank destroyers. You've got 30 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which is something that you might want to try and help out, again, because you are a turretless tank destroyer, so you might want to try and help it out to get the gun on target a little bit quicker. You've got 2.2 on soft, 1.2 on medium, and 1.1 on firm, which does not hold you back getting to that top speed. You've got 331 meters of still concealment, with 370 meters of moving concealment, which obviously you can help with silent driving if you want to try and get that down. And this camo does get down to about 260, which is fantastic. You've got 22 degrees a second on the gun. That's how fast the gun flicks from side to side. If the tank does not have a turret, the turret rotation speed generally means for the gun traverse. And yeah, it traverses pretty quickly. You've got 0.6 accuracy during rotation, so when you turn the tracks, which is phenomenal. It's one of the reasons that this tank's gun feels like it's near enough always ready to go. You've got 15 degrees of elevation with 7 degrees of gun depression, which is fantastic for this type of tank. It helps you accentuate your armor on ridge lines and stuff like that pretty damn nicely. And it means you just feel like a little bit more flexible than a tank, say, that has 5 degrees of gun depression that's fairly similar to this. You've got 14.3 second base reload, which is a little bit long, but you can knock that down to about 11 seconds, nearly 10 seconds, and you'll get that up to about 2.8k DPM, but this is currently at 2.1. You've got 0.34 base accuracy, which is really damn solid. For this tank, it's getting into the accurate zone in terms of its base accuracy. 2.18 accuracy during movement as well is actually really quite good for this kind of tank destroyer, and you can knock that down with food and the crew skills too. You get that to a really good level. 2-second aim time is also fantastic, which really helps this gun get aimed in very quickly, which again is absolutely glorious for the Type 5 Kari. This gun always feels like it's ready to go, which is a definite plus point for the tank. You've got AP, APCR and HE, which is 252 penetration on the AP rounds, 298 penetration on the APCR rounds, and 90 penetration on the HE, which is actually really quite nice, because that means you'll be able to pen quite a few lightly armoured targets with the HE rounds, especially like what you can actually pen waffly 100s with this, because obviously with the waffle these days, since it's been buffed, a lot of HE rounds aren't actually that useful against it. This can do that. But yeah, your penetration is absolutely fantastic. You're never going to worry about not penetrating things with this tank ever, realistically. This penetration is great. You've got 500 alpha to go with those AP and APCR rounds, with 630 on the HE, which also has 980 meters a second shell velocity on the AP, with 1,150 on the APCR, and the HE shell is 900 meters a second. So the HE round is a little bit slower than the other two rounds, so be careful of that. But yeah, the shell velocity is also pretty damn nice on this vehicle for such a big gun, because it has got the 127mm gun that this tank has. And you've got a 150% silver bonus on top of this tank, which means it does make good credits, but 150 is on the low end for a tier 8 premium tank. So let's go look. And first off, I'm going to show you the modules so you can see the modules. There is a lot going off in this tank. So you can see the engine block there is at the back. You can see the ammunition is all at the back of this superstructure. So if you catch this thing sideways on, shoot it there, because you might detonate it. And especially, I'm looking at you HE tanks that can fire good pen HE. Straight through that superstructure, you're probably going to detonate this tank. So that's one thing. And you can see the crew members, well, there's 6 of them. They're all there in the center of the tank. You're probably going to kill a crew member if you shoot this thing through it. But you've got to get through the armor to do that. And speaking of armor, we're going to go to Tanks GG. And that's because Tanks GG, well, the tank model on console is exactly the same as it is on PC. So we can use Tanks GG to show you the effective armor. And this is the tank firing it itself with 252 penetration AP rounds. And as you can see, it's basically going to go through itself all the time. But it's got 230 millimeters of effective armor on this superstructure. The upper plate and lower plate is 185 effective with 93 effective on the lower plate when on flat. And the gun mantlet has 300 millimeters of thickness, which means that you will bounce a hell of a lot of shells off of this gun mantlet. It's a very, very good gun mantlet. This superstructure is going to be good against tier 6s, 7s, and a lot of tier 8s, who are going to probably be 50-50s or less to go through your superstructure armor. Your hull armor, though, is Garbo, and they will go through your hull armor, which is why I say the armor isn't fantastic, but it's workable, because at your own tier, you can ricochet shots, and especially if you're trying to bait shots off your gun mantlet, you will ricochet shots off that gun mantlet. You just got to cover this hull armor, because this hull armor is tragic. But if we were to say, okay, I'm going to go on a ridgeline and use my 7 degrees of gun depression, the hull armor is still ew, but the effective armor of the superstructure then goes up to about 240, and that gun mantlet gets, well, it stays pretty much the same, to be fair. But yeah, this superstructure gets more bouncy at 240, which means, again, you're bouncing more of your own tier tanks. Naturally, premium rounds are going to go straight through you, but also, you're going to be playing, you can play this thing aggressively in a top tier matchup, but you've got to use your camo more when you're against tanks that, you know, have the higher penetration against this vehicle. And this is actually a bait, really, because if you're straight on and they try and shoot these cheeks, they will ricochet. But you just want to wiggle, because obviously, even if they catch you at extreme angles, you can still ricochet off of the side there. You just got to keep wiggling, essentially, to make it as hard as possible. And as you can see, where the ammo racks are, it's only 50 millimeters of armor, which is 51 effective, which means that, again, high pen HE rounds will detonate these ammo racks if it's not careful. So be very, very careful of that in general. And then there's quite a few HE rounds, like KV2 HE rounds will pen this, Turtle HE rounds, T49, Tusk, you know, all that good stuff. Those HE rounds will go through the side of this tank. So try and always keep your front to your enemy if you can, because, yeah, it's not going to go too well for you in general if you do not do that. So yeah, that's the armor profile of the tank. So what do I run in terms of a commander on this tank? I have put it in the STA2. So let's go stick it back into the Kari. And on the Kari's commander, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Trap Mechanic, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, and Camouflage Expertise. I threw myself off by changing my order of my top 3. Yeah, I don't do that very often. But yeah, so I run Camouflage Expertise to make sure that the camo is better, because you want to try and make the camo better. Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better on this tank, so I can get this tank swiveled on target quicker. Run and Gun, because I want to make the moving accuracy down. I want to knock the movement accuracy down, because naturally, I do take shots on the move, so it's quite nice to be more accurate on the move, but also it lowers your on-the-move accuracy, which then means that the gun bloom, or the reticle bloom, is not that much bigger than if you were stationary, right? And it's really quite nice to have this gun pretty much always ready to go, which is why I run it. Steady Aim to make my accuracy 10% better, and these 5 perks you're going to take on every single, well, these 6 perks you're going to take on every single tank, mostly. I mean, Trap Mechanic, you're probably not. These 5 perks are the ones you're always going to take. But Trap Mechanic you want to run on this tank, because you are a turretless tank destroyer, and if you get tracked, it could mean death. So you want to get your tracks back on as quickly as possible if they do get blown off, which is why I run it. If you feel like this tank traverses quick enough, you could quite easily drop clutch braking and run silent driving instead. And you could run silent driving so that it reduces the effect of movement on your camo. That's the way that I would change that if I had to. But it's down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the tank, because there's always... there is no right way to kit out a tank. It's how you feel comfortable, because you could kit this thing out to be more of a brawling tank if you really wanted to, and you could just forego all the camo perks, all that good stuff. You know, it's down to you. So we run the advanced loader, the camo net, and optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself so I can actually see what I'm trying to shoot. I run the camo net so that I can get the best camo out this tank I can possibly get as well, because it can be pretty damn filthy. And the advanced loader to make my DPM 10% better. And as you can see, we've got the still concealment down to 260, and the view range is now up to 486 with that, which is glorious. I mean, again, if you wanted to and go quicker, you could definitely take the traction system to go at 44 kilometers an hour if you wanted to. Like, there is different ways to kit out a tank. I would probably stick with this to make your camo better and then have the fantastic camo along with the gun, but it's completely down to you. So let's have a look at the statistics of the tank while it's fully equipped. And as you can see, we've got the track traverse up to 32.7 degrees a second. We've got the terrain resistances knocked down a little bit. We've got 260 meters of still concealment. We've got 486 meters of view range, which again is beautiful. Mixed with that 260 still concealment is absolutely fabulous for this tank. It means you do spot tanks at good distance and they will struggle to see you. You've got the accuracy during rotation down to 0.46, which again is absolutely phenomenal. You've got the reload down to 10.43, which is 2.8, nearly 2.9k DPM, with 0.28 accuracy, which again is really, really accurate. You got the aim time down to 1.84 seconds, with the accuracy during movement down to now 1.55, which means this gun just does not bloom out that much at all, really, and you aim it in very, very quickly. On the whole, this tank has been a joy. It's been a joy to play. I have really enjoyed it. It's going to be a well-worthy Season 100 reward, and it looks pretty damn cool as well with this tiger skin, which, yeah, is pretty damn awesome, right? So yeah, that's the Type 5 Car E. I'm going to send you into the replays now where you can watch it in action, see how it handles, and yeah, some of these games are pretty damn good because it was a really enjoyable experience. So as always, everybody, I'll send you into the replays and I'll see you there. So here we are in the replays with the Car E, and this first replay is in a bottom tier matchup, and we're on Ghost Town. Now these first two replays are sort of the more average games that you get in a tank at tier 8, where, you know, the game gets away from you a little bit sometimes, or you just manage to trundle around the battlefield and get the odd bit of damage here and there, and you end up with a decent result in the end. Whereas the second two replays are where, yeah, we had some games. It's the way to describe it. We had some games. So this first replay, we're on Ghost Town. We're bottom tier. We are going to go to the position at F5. And what I want to do from that position is get hull down, use the 7 degrees of gun depression, and see about getting some shots across the middle if I can. Because really, I wanted to test the armour. I wanted to see what that superstructure was going to do for me from that position. As we get in there, we see a T100 LT. He ends up spotting us. And it's like, Mr. T100LT, I say, no, no, no. We find the E75 and a T54. We go for a shot into the E75, but I don't know. I don't know what I shot at him there. I don't know what he was doing, but we ended up ricocheting. We chance it with a shot at the cupola of the 268, but unfortunately we hit the superstructure there of the 268 before hitting the cupola, which is a little bit sad. But we're just going to poke up and now wait to see if the 268 decides to give us a shot, or see if that medium tank that was on that corner decides to poke round. We're just going to play the patient game here. Now I realise I've got the KV4 behind me, and I think, is he going to block me? He's just pulled back, and he's just realised he pulls back, so we're safe, we're fine. And we did get a nice shot there into the T54. Now I've got to be very, very careful of the TD that's on my right, because I don't want that thing to just poke over and go, hello friend, I'm a TD, and, you know, give us a good shellacking in the side. We don't want that. So you can see I'm just keeping my eye on it. Then we get spotted, and it's like, what was that? Oh, it's the E75 that poked up, but didn't quite give us a shot. We see the 268 has progressed. The ISU is pulling back by the looks of it, so I think, let's see if we can get a shot at this ISU, which is a bit risky, because he can pen our superstructure quite easily. But we see the top of his tank, aim the shot in, and you can just see, even from full speed, this gun is just ready to go. It's just ready to go. So we got a shot into that ISU 152, and we saw the medium coming. So we're pulling back to get away from this medium, watching the corner. He drives out. We give him a slap in the side, and the Turan finishes them off. We hit him for 518. Then we see that the TD is down there on the corner, and it's like, okay, he must have fired, right? Because the Type 59 is just driven out in front of him. We drive around the corner, and well, that's a bit of a precarious position that 268 was in. How did he manage that? Well, fair enough. He gets shut down anyway by the Manticore, and we're now going to go in and try and get some shots into these TDs here. So we've got the one-shot G-Saw, which we pummel the shot straight through, because we don't really have to worry about penetration, because it is so good on this tank at 252. Now there's 5 tanks left on the enemy team. There's the T-77 that's on the left. The Manticore shoots the IS-3-2. That T-77 is a 2-shot for us. So what... Well, he's just got shut down by an E4, so we're just going to go after the IS-3-2, and sadly, that shot decided to hit the rubble rather than the IS-3-2, but we're going to close this guy down. We've just heard him fire a double, which means that he's going to spend a little bit reloading, aiming for the shot through his upper plate. It goes in. I'm not sure why the reticle decided to disappear there in terms of the penetration chance, but hey-ho. Got the shot through, and we give him a little love tap because he was on 1 HP in a dream, and we don't let those dreamers dream, okay? So we get the shot through the T100LT on the move, and again, you're seeing the gun handling. It is very tasty. This gun is always ready to go. It is a beautiful thing in that regard, and the fact that you can just hit those shots for 500 is a beautiful thing. The 500 Alpha is delightful, with the penetration being delightful as well. It's just a delightful tank. And that was the end of the first game. We finished with 2.4k damage. We ended up with the epic victory, top of the team, because we did a fair few shots of damage to some tier 10s and stuff. Well, tier 9s, sorry. 2 kills, 2.4k damage. That 1312 base XP, a fairly average game there for the Car Re on Ghost Town. And that was one of those games where we just managed to trundle about, get a bit of damage here and there, but their team just evaporated very, very quickly, which meant we couldn't get much more than what we got. So we're on to the second game, and the second game here, we are on this map, which is Swamp. And Swamp, we are top tier. And what we're going to do while we are top tier is we're going to push quite quickly to C7 and see if we can catch people on the cross up the 0 line. Now, this is a pretty risky play because, especially with having a 40km/h top speed, we don't get there very quickly, which means we won't spot the tanks that are a little bit faster climbing up that 0 line, which means they might have already got there to get 3 shots into our side from B9, which makes it a little bit awkward. It's definitely not as good a play as it used to be. Back when this tank was... Well, not this tank, sorry. This tank's only just come out. Back when this map was like pre-6.0 and there was a little bit less foliage in terms of these positions here, it was a lot easier to spot people that made that cross at 0 line, and also I feel like he spawned a little bit closer, so it was way easier to cut this off. So you ended up spotting them. You had a lot of people that sit like where the TDs are at D5 now, and then end up giving you a load of assistance, whereas this play now is very, very risky, and a lot of the time you tend to find that they've already gone, which can, again, make the fight just very, very awkward for you in any sort of tank, and especially a tank like the Car Re over here. So it might actually be better just to go up the A line into that corner that way, realistically. But we did manage to catch out that Atomic. We got a nice shot into his side, and once again, you saw the gun handling. It was just ready to go. It just was. It was just ready to go. The gun is beautiful, honestly. Obviously, you do need to let it aim at times, because you will, if you don't aim the shot, miss. Just like any other gun, RNG is still a factor. It does like to miss. But if you do have most of the tank in the reticle, it will hit, which is definitely a glorious thing for the Car Re. And because of the fact that when your rotation and accuracy and your accuracy during movement is so good, you very rarely have to wait for the gun to be aimed in. It's 1.8 seconds aim time, and it just goes, boop, ready to go, fire, kill it, and you're like, thank you, gun, I will. So we poke around the corner, we get spotted by the T25/2, who crosses the open. We take a hit from something at the back, which then misses, which means there's an autoloader back there firing APCR, and we managed to get ourselves back safe. It was a bit of a risky move to poke that corner like that, and we got fairly lucky, really, that we didn't get insta-gibbed, but we did lose a fair bit of hit points. We spot the T77, who is sat back there, which was the tank that definitely shot at us with the APCR. And what we're going to do is we're going to change our positions, get ourselves into a position where we can possibly shoot this T-77. You can just see we're ready to go. He can't see us because our camo is so fabulous, and we put the big 500 round shell straight through his lower plate. And that's exactly what this tank does. If I wanted to get that T-77 again, I could quite easily have poked around this corner unspotted and delivered another big shell in. We see the T-28 prot, so I decided to try and get a shell into his side. Bit of a silly shot to take. I should have just aimed for the turret, but the fact is that hit on the move, so we're fairly lucky anyway. We're up to 1,209 damage with 584 assistance. And yeah, again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke up in these bushes and see if I can get a shot into the T-28 prototype. But I decided, actually, you know, the T-25/2 is attacking my medium tank. I'm going to help my medium tank out if I can. Now, this is risky because we don't know that T-77's gone, but we poke a big shell into the side of that T-25/2, and he's now a one-shot, and he's now dead. We know where the T-77 is, and I really do want to get rid of that guy, so instead of driving around that side where he's possibly looking, we're going to drive around and see if we can get a shot into his rear while he is distracted with our medium tank. So we drive around the corner. We see he's just behind the building. Sad times, we just can't quite get the shot. He pokes out enough, and I think that's enough to get a shot and pen him. But no, he repairs his track, which means he's burnt his repair kit, and he is starting to come after us. It's going to take 2 shots from his gun to kill us, so I'm just waiting for the perfect shot. I want to track him if I can. We get the tracking shot, and it pens as well, which means we pin the T-77 in place. We stop him dead in his tracks. He can't get round to get us, and the IS shuts him down. Now the T-28 prot is round the corner. It's like, hello, Mr. T-28. We put the shot for 510 straight through the side. Oh, that alpha is just juicy. It's so nice. And with the reload as well, it's just, oh, yes. The T-28 prototype's backing up. We get a shot through the side, well, through the little cheek on his turret, and we're up to 2 kills with 2.9k damage. The UDES-03 gets shut down by the rest of our team, and there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. It is the Alpine Tiger and an ISU 152K. So what we're going to do is we are going to try and get there, and this is where the 40 kilometers an hour top speed obviously can feel a little bit slow, because it means that we will struggle to get there. We can't quite get the gun turn round onto this Alpine Tiger, who does get himself back into the castle so that, yeah, we can't shoot him. But yeah, this is where the 40 kilometers an hour top speed can feel a little bit slow. When the end of the game is here and we're trying to get there just to get some cleanup damage, the other tanks are a little bit faster than you. It means that they can get there just a little bit quicker, and it's a little bit annoying in that regard. But again, it's one of the only downsides to this tank, for realistically, is the mediocre mobility, and we are, you know, just about getting there anyway, but we sadly didn't get there to get a shot into that ISU 152K or the Alpine Tiger, and we finished the game with the victory. We came second on the team with 2 kills, 2.9k damage, 584 assistance, the 3rd class for 1,286 base XP. A pretty decent game for the Kari, a fairly average game there where, you know, you just get yourself stuck in and you get a decent amount of damage as you fly around. But we're on to the 3rd replay, and the 3rd replay is on this map, which is Prokhorovka. And on Prok, what I'm going to do is go find the TD bush up at G1, and then I can use my fantastic camo that this tank gets, my great gun, and start putting the hurting shots in where I can. Stop the people trying to take the mid-ridge, and just keep slamming in the damage, because this tank really does consistently put out that damage. It is very, very beautiful in that regard. So we're going to push up to the HG1 area, because from there, with our fantastic 260 meters of still concealment, we can abuse that camo. But we do need people to spot if we can, because naturally, if there's nothing spotting for us, we're a tank destroyer. We're not going to be able to shoot what we can't see, right? So we're getting up to the position here at GH1, and our light tanks haven't come this way, which made me slightly concerned. I was like, oh no, this is not good. That means my spotters aren't here. And the 2 light tanks, in fact, have just YOLO'd straight over the hill down the 0 line and into the enemy team, which means we aren't going to have any scouts for us in this game, which is going to be a bit awkward for our tank destroyer who, well, it needs to see what it's going to be shooting, right? So I'm trying to put myself in a position where I can shoot down the 1-2 if I need to, but I can also shoot through this bush at the people on the ridgeline. And we actually end up finding the huntsman. That's where our view range is fantastic, and again, that's where the camo is really nice, because we fire at that huntsman without getting spotted. And that makes me confident that I can do it again, which is exactly what we do. But the E50M is a boss. on our team. The E50M is a boss, and he's decided to take the spotting role for us where our light tanks failed. We tried to get a shot into the M41D, which missed because, well, it was fairly poorly aimed, if we're totally honest. And we're keeping ourselves as still as possible, so our camo's pretty good. The Waffle E100 shuts down the M41D. And yeah, the E50M is being a boss. He is going forward to spot for us, which is great. We need to get ourselves into position to support him. So we get a shot straight through the Huntsman. And you can see the C50, with the way his name is flashing, is taking hits. And it's like, what is doing it? Is it that Samua over there? So we swivel around to get shots into the Samua, put the shot straight through the upper plate of the Samua and get rid of him. There's the Waffle E100. That's what we're shooting the E50M. We swivel around with loaded HE to see if we can get the shell in. You can see the shell trait, the penetration indicator is orange, and that's because that buff to that Waffle E100 turret makes it very awkward for HE. And we should have just stuck with AP, because that AP round would have gone straight through that Waffle E100, and thus we only did 200 odd damage with the HE round, and the E50M shuts down the Waffle E100 there. But there doesn't seem to be anything else on this flank. They seem to have committed a lot of tanks to the 9-0. So you know what? With the good camo this thing gets, and the pretty good view range, I'm going to push quite aggressive, because the E50M naturally is going to play a bit more conservatively. He lost a lot of hit points to that Waffle E100, so I want to now try and return the favour, and see if I can push forward and see some enemy tanks. We find, well, the Contra Caro Mark II got spotted, and we got a nice shot through his lower plate. We end up finding the artillery, which is always great. Good night, Mr. GW Tiger. And we get 1,200 assistance from that, and we're up to 2.4k damage. The TNH TVZ51 gets spotted in the middle of the bridge, but sadly we can't quite find a shot. What I want to do is get across here to EF6 as quickly as possible, because I will be able to get shots at the guys on top of the hill that are attacking my heavy tank if they stay there, which could be a glorious little farm for me, and possibly I could spot the people on the hill as well with the very good view range that this tank has. So that's what we are trying our best to do. So we're speeding along as fast as we can with the 40 km/h top speed. Like I say, it does feel a little bit slow. Trying to get ourselves into a position where we can see the hill. And in fact, there's the Type 5 Heavy. It's like, hello, Mr. Type 5 Heavy. What are you doing there, sir? Okay, don't mind if I do. So we put a shot straight through the side of the Type 5 Heavy with our 252 penetration. Just waiting on the reload. We've put ourselves on top of the train tracks, which means, yeah, we're going to get spotted if we fire. And I didn't realise it at the time. I was like, oh, no, wait a minute. The guys down at A6. B6 can actually see me, and we take a hit from the hill. It's like, ouch. Okay, don't do that again, please. We take another hit from the guy on the hill, which is the SMV CC67, and there's something else, and we have lost basically most of our hit points, but we do manage to swivel. And you can see, again, the gun was ready to go. Swivel, get the shot straight through the Type 59-2. Now waiting for whatever was up there to get spotted. And there we go. The STRV-1030 gets spotted. We put another shot straight through the side of the STRV-1030. And we're up to 4,000 damage with 3 kills with the 1,200 assistance. We know where the two guys are down the bottom of these train tracks. And I'm thinking, do I be cheeky? Do I be cheeky and try and get a shot at these guys? Because I could try it. It's a very risky move to do, but if it works, it could pay off. I'm very, very cautious of that SMV CC67 as well. And there you go. We've got the shot at the back end of this TNH. So I pop the shot in. We get spotted. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Thankfully, he doesn't end up shooting us. He ends up hitting the dirt. We're just waiting for the spotted symbol to go. And there we go. We're now undetected from the Sixth Sense, which means we can poke up and use our camo to, again, get some shots. So we know we can poke up on this corner without getting spotted. It's only once we fired we will get spotted. So what I'm going to do is position myself so I'm ready to get a shot through this TNH TVZ51, and I'm instantly ready to get back behind the tracks and behind that broken train car so that the TNH VZ51 can't actually shoot me. And we got a shot straight through his lower plate, and he didn't get a shot in retaliation. We're going to do it once again. So I can see the back of the TNH VZ51, and sadly, the shot just misses. It ends up hitting the floor, which was fairly poor accuracy. I thought, oh, this guy's going to die before I reload, so we get a shot through the back of the Contra Caro, and in fact, the TNH VZ51 doesn't actually die. I thought he was going to die, and he just doesn't. So we get for the shot straight through the back of the guy's turret, which we shut him down. That's one tier 9 heavy tank gone. Just waiting on the reload, watching that Contra Caro or the SMV CC67 on top of the hill. We go for the blind shot into the Mark II, the tier 9 Italian tank destroyer, but sadly it doesn't hit or it doesn't pen, something along those lines, so we're just waiting for him to now get spotted as our heavy tank is progressing down. There we go, he gets lit up, and we put the shot straight through his lower plate. There's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. There's the SMV CC67 up there, and that STRV 1030, and in fact the CC67 gets shut down, leaving just the Swedish tank destroyer that's tier 9 in that dip, and the 705A and the TD are, well, the Waffle 100 are both charging in on that guy, which means the likelihood of me getting a shot at him is very unlikely, and I'm not going to be able to secure that top gun, which is always sad. But we finished with a great total in a tier 10 game on Prokhorovka. Finished the game with the victory. Top of the team, 5 kills, 6.1k damage, 1200 assistance, with the first class, the sniper, the high caliber, and 2.3, nearly 2.4k base XP. A really fantastic game there for the Kari on Proc. And yeah, that is not first class. And that is because, if you didn't know, when a brand new tank comes out, its Mark of Excellence requirements and its base XP requirements for an ace are set to the highest of the same tier tank and class of its tier. So for tier 8 tank destroyers, that would be the Panzerjäger. So currently the requirements are set to the levels of the Panzerjäger, which is an absolutely broken tier 8 tank destroyer and has incredibly high requirements for both the marks and for the ace requirements. You do need like 2.4k at least base XP to be able to ace tanker that vehicle, and thus that's why you will see high base XP requirements like that not ending up in aces, because they are set again to the highest of the tank and tier that are going. So we're on the final replay, and oh boy, is what I'm going to say. Oh boy, this is a game. So we get a nice shot on the move. Oh, by the way, this is the very first game I played in it, by the way. So yeah, we managed to hit the shot on the Barask on the move for 594. Beautiful scenes. I was going to try and snap the shot into the Barask, but I saw the Skoda T50 coming, and we want to make every shot count because there's only 3 of us over on this flank. So yeah, naturally we want to try and make it count if we can. The Barask is crossing the open, so we may take the opportunity to get the shot into his side. I'm not too worried about the Skoda T50 because my 2 guys are chasing after him, but in fact, it looks like he's coming around the corner. It's like, well, hello, Mr. Skoda T50. Okay, then. We put a shot through his side for 582. Whew. We're still detected, though, as we're going after this Barask, and I thought maybe that's the Barask aiming at me. That could be something else at the back, and in fact, it is something else at the back, and we block a shot for 750, I'd assume, something like that, which made me think, Big Gun Waffle? Something like that, maybe? I don't know. It hit me for 750, which means that it didn't pen us, and that made me very happy because that could have been quite bad. The E50 is driving round the side along the 0 line, so it should spot what is at A7, A8. So we were waiting for it, but decided, you know what? I'm going to try out the camo and see if I can get shots into the middle if I can, which we do. Then we notice the 1390 coming. It's like, oh no, that means I'm going to take a big hit from the back. That's not good. We're just backing up to make sure it's as hard as possible for it to hit us. We pop the shot towards the 1390, but it misses, and we get ourselves safe back behind the ridge line. I did fear for my HP there, but thankfully it didn't go after us. We just got detected as we were about to poke up on the ridgeline, but we do manage to pull back and decide, okay, you know what, I want to try and get some shots into 1390, but he's actually on the other side of the ridge. I can't quite see. So we're just going to look back into the middle of the map. We can't see any shots at this point into the middle of the map. Then we noticed the Bisonte. It's like, hello, Mr. Bisonte, back up for me. Thank you so much. And we shut down that Bisonte, and we're up to 2.9k damage in the first 3 minutes of the game. We then see the Waffle 100 in the middle of the map. He was going the other way, so you know what? We're just going to pop a shot blind, and we get the penetration into that tank destroyer. At least I think it was straight into the Waffle 100. It looked like it would have been. We then noticed we actually had a shot at the Kiravettes, so we back up into a position where maybe we can get a shot into the Kiravettes. We smash the shot down the middle of the range again, and this one goes in as well, so I don't know if I hit the Kiravettes or I hit the Waffle 100 again, or maybe something like that, who knows. The Waffle Panzer 4, that was the one that bounced off us, is at the back of the map. He gets spotted by the E50. We put a shot through his front, just waiting for the reload, and I think, okay, you know what, the Waffle's probably going to get shut down. Let's focus upon trying to get some shots into this 1390, because he's the one that's going to be spotting us. So we leave the shot, and sadly, this shot just misses on that guy. I'm just keeping my eye on that middle area because I can still get some shots from this position down there. The 1390 looks like he's actually going to drive back into the range of which I can shoot in, so we put the shot down range straight into the side of that 1390, and we're up to 4.8k damage. If we can get rid of this light tank, that would be glorious. He stops in the open, which is like, oh, Thank you, sir. Kills his momentum. I'm not sure if that's because he actually crashed into the map border there. But we put him down to a one-shot for our team. And once again, you can see we've got shots into the middle. So we're just looking for the shot into the breast, try and snap the shot in. And sadly, it doesn't go anywhere near. That's because, well, it was a poorly aimed shot. And I decided, okay, it's time. We're at 5.3k damage. It's time to go into the middle if I can. The Batchat gets spotted. It's like, hello, Mr. Batchat. We put the shot straight through his side. It sets him on fire. Oh, beautiful scenes. And we're just hoping that maybe we can reload in time to shut him down, but he disappears because he gets unspotted and possibly gets himself safe. That puts us on to 6,500 damage. We're already on for what it would be a fantastic game for a tier 8 tank destroyer in a tier 10 game. But we're not done yet. Nope. Oh boy, no, are we not done? There's still 7 tanks left, and there's still some HP knocking around. So what we're going to do is we're just going to plow down the middle, see if there's anything in this central area, and it seems to be that everything that was in the center is now dead. So it's like, okay, everything seems to be dead that was in the middle now. So what we're going to do instead is poke up on top of this ridgeline and see if we can get any cheeky shots into anything that might be on the other side, and maybe see if we can get some shots into the TDs that would be at C1B1 if we can. So we poke over into the bushes and we don't see anything. It's like, okay, I thought there was something back there, but there's not. We find the Wotconsole 4 and the Griller, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to chance it on this Griller. But sadly, I snap the shot into the Griller, and the Grill snaps the shot into me, put me down to a one-shot, and I get very lucky that that Iron Rain bounces off my superstructure. But the Griller has actually fired, and I'm like, okay, you know what, he's not even looking at me. Let's give him a free RBRT. But sadly, the shot actually hits his gun, doesn't pen him because I didn't aim properly. But we give him a little love tap anyway, and we shut down that tier 10 German tank destroyer there. We're up to 7,044 damage, and we pretty much know where the last 2 TDs are. They were down at B1. We know where one artillery is. He's at A3, A4, and we know the other one was at A1 in those bushes, but I can't see it. And I was thinking, I'm surprised by this. I'm being careful because both those tank destroyers can shut me down in one shot, and they could also just be sat in that bush. The T-92 gets spotted, we fire on the move, put him down to a one-shot, and get ourselves as close to this ridgeline as possible. We see both shells fly out from the 2 tanks on the other side, and I poke over, we find the Wotconsole 4, and I think, oh no, wait a minute, the other tank's an Iron Rain, isn't it? The Iron Rain could have a second shot going, so we don't chance it. The Wotconsole 4 shuts down the Earthshaker, so it's like, well, okay then, give him a shot through the side, ram him for 207, sorry, for 100, sorry, tracks him, and we get the tracking assist, and we finish the game with 2 kills, but 8,200 damage. The victory, top of the team, 8,200 damage, 2 kills, 1,309 assistance. The ace tanker, the high caliber, the Confederate, 2.5, nearly 2.6k base XP. An absolutely amazing game for a tier 8 tank destroyer in a tier 10 game. What can I say about that? That was a fantastic game. And yeah, that is the Kari. Honestly, it's been an absolute joy to play. I very much enjoyed it. Everything about this tank has been enjoyable for me. And you'll be getting it free at the level 100. Well, you won't be getting it free, but if you buy the season pass for 2,000 gold, you will be getting it at level 100. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Great success!